get a bit of this over here. Listen, if one of your New Year's resolutions is to get your garden going, then why not get an expert, handy helper in one of my favorite horticulturists and expert gardeners, Ben Getz. Happy New Year to you. Great to have you back on the show.
Happy New Year to you.
And we're talking all about seasonal gardening because, I mean, you got to plan it out properly, right? You got to know exactly when to plant what. So with it being January, nice and summery, what are the ideal plants to plant?
Well, we've got a nice variety of plants here. We've got beetroot, we've got crisp lettuce, which doesn't like too much sun, so we're going to deal with that. We've got Swiss chard, aubergine, and bush beans, which are essentially green beans, string beans.
Okay, so let's talk about first, how do we ensure that the plants get the best start? We've cleared out all of our old plants over here.
Right.
How do we make sure they get the best start?
Well, we've got this bed over here, and as you can see, it's been cleared out. We've got fresh compost and potting soil in the bed. The next thing that we need to do is to put soil conditioners into the bed.
Like hair conditioner except for the soil. It's just nourishing.
Exactly, exactly. It's micronutrients and macronutrients that help the plants grow healthy.
Is it something you can make at home? Perhaps, or do you, I mean, obviously going to buy ingredients and then making your own soil
Definitely. So this is Urban Harvest special mix of soil conditioners. It includes bone meal, chicken manure, even molasses, gypsum, seaweed, quite a big mix of those micro and macronutrients.
Where do you go to get your chicken manure? Because obviously you've got to have it in volume, right?
There's a place, what's it called?
Don't give away your secrets. It's fine. It's fine. But let's go into now that you've got your soil conditioner and it's done its work in there. How do you plant right in order to make sure that the plants really just have the best kind of environment to grow in?
Right. So you obviously spacing's important. So you would start with your bigger plants. For example, the aubergines, and then we'd go on to your beetroots and your spinach and your lettuce, and you're wanting to get as much in the space as possible. So.
Okay, well, let's do that.
Shall we have a look at that?
Please, just show us a little bit.
Great.
Got to get those fingers and hands a bit dirty.
Cool.
All right, cool.
So first thing to do is to lay things out. These are the biggest plants. So you've got your, as I said, your aubergines, your eggplants. These are going to get pretty big. We're going to put them at the back so that your north sun, they'll get the maximum sun and they're not going to create too much shade for the rest of the vegetables.
Okay, righto.
Then you'd go with your next biggest. In this case, you've got your spinach, or otherwise known as Swiss chard. So
it's like a bit of a Tetris puzzle. You got to like put them nicely in the space there.
The truth is, I see it as poetry. You've really got to have fun. You've got to experiment. It's pretty hard to go wrong. I would err on planting more densely than less densely.
Yes.
So.
Okay, cool. So that's our beetroot, right?
This is beetroot.
Man, is that how it starts? I've never even thought about what a beetroot plant might look like.
Well, it would obviously start as a seed. So these are all seedlings, and they're, in fact, aubergine, it would be too late to plant from seed now, but absolutely appropriate still for the rest of January to plant from seedlings, especially these guys are fairly mature as seedlings, and you can already... Right.
So you've laid it out.
We've laid them out. The last thing we want to add in here, just in terms of the layout, is these are your bush beans, your green beans. And I've actually got them soaking in water, and that's a little tip. If you soak them in water overnight, they're going to germinate more quickly. You're going to have a higher success rate. Simple, but it makes a difference. Cool. I'm just going to pour that water out.
All right.
Take a couple of these bush beans out. Yeah. They're quite nice and easy to see.
Sure thing.
And you're going to... Again, just add them to our little poetry here, our creative puzzle.
Take an Instagram of that from up here, eh?
And you'll be amazed to see in a few weeks, starting in about 4 weeks harvesting, and in about 8 weeks' time, this will be, you won't be able to see soil. It will be really maximizing on the space.
Yeah, and I'm imagining, obviously, that kind of gives you the spacing in terms of how deeply it's going to go in, right?
Exactly. With the seedlings, with the seeds, it's slightly different. So with these guys...
Show us one very quickly.
Okay, just open this up.
Open up the soil.
You can use your finger, especially if the soil is nice and soft.
Yep.
You put the plug in the hole. These are called seedling plugs.
Okay.
Bring your soil close to it and do a little bit of an anchoring. With the seeds, it's slightly different, and that is you don't want to put it too deep. Yeah. You would put it just the depth of the seed times 3, so not very deep at all.
Yeah, and then once you've done this, how often are you trying to water your garden in order to kind of give it the...
It's summertime, and especially in the beginning, you want to water every day. You can even do twice a day for the first week, after which, once the roots have set in, every second day should be fine.
Absolutely fantastic. Urban Harvest's Ben Getz, the man to trust when it comes to your gardening tips. But stay tuned. After the break, we're going to be making a lovely sassy salads with fresh ingredients on your Feel Good Breakfast show.